Hello everyone. In this video, I will discuss with you the timeline to apply for a PhD program. I'll give you a timeline that can help you prepare your application and build your CV towards that application. So let's start with an example. Let's say you want to come to the US to study in August of 2025. So that is about 2 years from now. Then your application is typically due in October to December of 2024. Okay. So the whole application process of submitting the application, which will be in October to December of 2024, and then interview, if there is an interview, it will be generally be between November, December, January. The results would come out typically between January to March, latest by April. And after that, you have about 2 to 3 months to get your visa, and then you come here in August of 2025. So this whole process itself takes about 1 year. And on top of that, I would suggest 1 to 2 years to prepare for your application. And that's what I will discuss in this video. So let's say you are 2 to 3 years from your application. Ideal situation in this case would be that if you are in a 4 year undergraduate program, you are in the second year of that program. Or if you are in a 5 year program, so you're doing a 3 year bachelor's and 2 year master's, or a 4+1 program, then ideally you are in the third year of your program. That would be the ideal time to start thinking about your application, your PhD application, and start building towards a good application package. And what you should do about 2 to 3 years from your application is that you should start getting involved in research. Okay, of course you will have good academics, but on top of your good academics, if you have some research experience, then that research experience will make your application much more stronger and distinct from other applicants who don't have these research experiences. Because people want to take students for PhD who have had some research experience, so they know what they're getting into. You don't want somebody who just had only courses and they think that PhD is like taking some more courses. PhD is different. It requires different types of skills, and it's better to showcase those skills through research experiences in your CV. So get involved into research. Now, how do you get involved into research? What you should do is you should talk to your professors. If they are professors at your own institute who do research, you should get involved into their research. If not, then your professors can help you identify researchers in your own area, in the city that you live in. Try to find out what are the research institutes, who are the people who typically involve undergraduates into research. So get involved into research into that institutes and do some work during this 1 or 2 year period. On top of that, you can also apply for summer research opportunities. Most of the time, wherever you are in the world, there are institutes, there are research institutes or big university who have research programs targeted at undergraduates for working in the summer. So apply for these programs, get involved into these programs. That can help you build your research skills and also build your CV to apply for PhD program later. The other thing that you can do is, if you have not been able to, let's say, get into a summer research program, then you can contact professors directly at different institutes where you can go and work in the summer. So let's say you are at a place where there is no research locally, then you can contact a professor at a different institutes and in a big city, for example, and ask them, do they have any positions open, and you could go and work there and work in their research lab. The reason research is so important is that, first of all, it builds your CV, it builds your skills that you require when you do your PhD. But on top of that, it also teaches you what is the process of research and do you like doing research at all. Because if you get into a PhD program, you will be doing research for 4, 5, 6 years. And if you don't like doing research at all, or if you don't like the area that you got into, then you will have a really hard time. In my case, I did research almost every year on my undergraduate, and during that process, I realized that there are several areas of research that I did not like. It was physics, but I did not like them. And secondly, I also identified that I did not like experimental work that much. I like more computational and theoretical work. So you can learn things about yourself during this process, which will help you identify what is the correct research area and correct type of work for you. So when you apply and when you get in, get admitted into a program, you will enjoy doing that program. So I would say very important, get involved into research. The second thing that you should do is you should contact seniors and alumni from your institute who are at different institutes, either doing a PhD program or a master's program. These people can first of all help you identify what is a good research program. They can also help you identify how you can get involved into research, how you can apply for summer research opportunities, and they can help you build your statement of purpose, your research statement, formatting your CV, things like that. So if you start networking with these people, they are going to be very good resources later on. So try and start building these connections early in your second or third year of your bachelor's or master's program. The third thing that you should do is you should start exploring what are the different career options, both during PhD and after PhD. So during PhD, for example, what are the different areas? If you're, let's say, studying physics, what kind of physics do you actually want to do? Do you want to do cosmology? Do you want to do astronomy, solid state physics? Do you want to do some kind of biological physics or applied physics? But on top of these areas, there are also interdisciplinary areas nowadays. You can be working in computational neuroscience. You could be working in a biophysics lab. You could be working in data science. You could be working in geophysics, econophysics. There are so many other areas that you can work on. And I'm giving you an example of physics, but let's say you're a math student or an English student or a history student. You can identify there are many other areas apart from the classic areas of physics, chemistry, mathematics, history. So this is a time, 2 to 3 years before application, is exploring all these areas and identifying what are the areas that you could apply to and what is the niche that you would actually do very well. Okay, so if you identify these niches, then you will have a much better chance of getting admitted than applying to a traditional program where most of the people would be applying to. So identify these areas in the 2 to 3 years as you build towards your application. Now, 1 year before the application, so let's say you want to apply in 2020, you want to get into 2025 to start your PhD. So you will be applying in 2024, which means that this is the time. So September, October of 2023. What you should be doing at this time? At this time, you should be identifying programs where you would like to go and do a PhD. Okay? And also identifying research areas that you would be interested in during your PhD. So if you, let's say, you want to come to the US, this would be a good time to look at a list of universities. You can go watch my video about different types of universities in the US, R1, R2, R3. You should identify what are these universities and how many, what kind of different programs do they have, and identify which universities you would target when you will be applying. Again, this is a good time to use your contacts, your networks, your alumni to identify these universities and find out more about the different research programs, different labs, what kind of funding they provide, how many applications generally they take, how many students generally they take. So this is a good time to collect all this information, so later on when you are ready to apply, you would be able to pinpoint the different institutes that you would actually send your application to. So do that during a year from your application. The other thing that you should do is you should find out what are the requirements of these programs. If you just go on their website, you can find out what the requirements are. Some of the institutes might require a GRE exam, a subject GRE exam, some kind of an English proficiency, so IELTS or TOEFL type of exam. So find out what are their minimum requirements so that you can start preparing for those exams. On top of your academics, you will need to do these GRE exams, so you can start preparing for them and you can schedule them properly so that doesn't interfere with your academics or with your application process. Another thing that you should do is you should identify these universities, and you should identify some specific groups that you would like to go and work with. Let's say you want to work in quantum computing, okay? If you want to work in quantum computing, then you should find out which universities have quantum computing, who are the professors, and you should write to these professors and find out if they have an open position, and what kind of skills they are looking for next year. So if you apply to that program, you would be able to showcase that you have those skills, and you will already know at least one person who would be expecting the application. And these kind of contacts can really make or break your application. If you might be a very, very good candidate, but if you don't show this kind of initiative, then sometimes people are not very sure that are you really interested. Maybe you're interested in some other institute and you're just applying here. If you are serious about some place, write to the professor and ask them, or at least find out what kind of skills they are looking for, so when you apply you will have a better chance. The other thing that you can do is, if at those institutes there are some alumni that you know or some students that you know, you should contact them and find out what kind of culture that the university has, what kind of funding they provide, how many students they take. This kind of information is typically very helpful in deciding how many applications you are going to send and where you should send those applications. And finally, this would be a good time to prepare for entrance exam. So let's say you have to take GRE exam or a TOEFL exam. This would be a good time to start preparing for it. And I would say target to complete these requirements much before than the application deadlines, because if in some case, let's say you didn't do well, you will have enough time to take it again, or in that time, if you have already finished it, it will not interfere with things like collecting your transcripts, writing your statement of purpose, collecting letter of recommendations. There's a lot of work that gets into building the application and submitting the application. So you want to prepare for the exam early and get them over with, so that you can focus on doing the application correctly in your final year. So after you have done all these things, the summer before the application, so let's say next, if we go to our example, this would be May to August of 2024. What you should do in this time is you should identify 4 to 10 places which you will be sending your application to. So this is the time now to get serious and pinpoint the departments, the universities that you will be sending your application to. Then you should schedule all the entrance exams, GRE, TOEFL, subject GRE. Make sure you know when the deadlines are. Make sure when the exams are, so you can do it well before the application is due. Otherwise, if your scores don't get to the universities on time, then your application will be rejected. So make sure you schedule them well in advance and complete those exams. This is also a good time to draft a personal statement, your CV, your research statement, and get feedback from your mentors, from your alumni network that you have created, maybe your friends, your seniors, who can give you feedback and incorporate those feedback to write a good personal statement. I will make another video where I'll explain you what you should include in a personal statement. But this would be time when you would be actually working on these essays and personal statement CVs. Summer is a very, very good time to complete all these materials. The other thing that you should do is by the summer, you should contact your referees who will be writing letter of recommendation, and you should inform them that you intend to apply for PhD. Tell them where are you planning to apply for PhD. They can also give you some good information on what would be good institutes to apply where previous students have done well. So contact them, tell them about your upcoming applications, tell them about the deadlines, and then you have all the materials, at least in theory, to apply for the PhD program. So now this is the time when you are ready to send the application out. So October to December typically would be the period when the applications will be due. What you should do during this time is let's say you hopefully have completed all the prerequisites, so you should collect the scores and either have physical copies or you should have electronic copies that are ready to be sent with your application. You should also collect your transcripts and CV. You should finalize your essays, personal statement, make sure everything is formatted properly, read, reread, proofread, ask other people to proofread so everything is correct. And then I would suggest, just to help you, is make a spreadsheet of the places that you want to apply, what are their prerequisites, and put the deadlines of all these places and start sending your applications. Once you start the application, you should share it with your referees so they can also submit their letter of recommendation. Typically, you should give them at least a month, sometimes maybe month, 2 months to write the letter and submit it. Don't do it last moment. If you do it last moment, they will not have enough time to write a good letter for you. So it's in your interest to give them enough time so they can write a good letter. And then hopefully by December you would have submitted all the letters. After you have submitted, you just have to wait. Sometimes some universities will have an interview. The interview would be over Zoom, remote interviews. It will typically be in December or January, sometimes also in February. And then in January, February, March, you will hear your results. Most of the time, the latest that you will hear about the decision will be in April. In the United States, all the universities have to inform the United States Customs and Immigration Department how many students are coming by April 30th. So if you have not heard by April 30th, you should probably prepare for next year. Another thing that I want to say at the end of this video is once you get your admission and you get the decision, you will have about 3 to 4 months to secure your visa. Sometimes, if the visa doesn't get secured by, say, end of July or early August, you can also ask the universities to defer your application or your admission by a few months. So rather than coming in August, you can come in January. So if you don't get a visa, don't lose all your hope. You will still be able to come as long as you get an admission. So good luck. See you in the next video.